Howdy folks, welcome to Yonin's Edge. Today I'm bringing you a review on the Rosecraft Lil Chonk. This is an Apex list knife that was sent to me recently, so let's jump in with some basic specs. We got a D2 steel blade in a Wharncliffe design and a completely flat, straight utility edge on the bottom. We got a flat grind here, which is really nice. This is a liner lock, full frame on both sides with ceramic ball bearings. Lockup looks good on it. We've got multi-layered G10 scales on both sides of the knife, which look really good. A stainless steel deep carry clip with countersunk screws. And let's talk about some lengths here. So we got a 2 3/4 inch usable cutting edge. Got a little sharpening choil right there on the back of this thing. We've got a 4-inch scale length, a 7 1/8 tip to tail length, and a weight of 5.9 ounces, so it's almost 6 ounces. It's a pretty heavy little knife, hence the name Lil Chonk. Things that I like about the knife. Well, obviously it's a cool looking knife, and it's a very rugged knife with fairly good ergos on it. You put it in your hands, it does feel good here. You do feel like you can choke up. There is some room up front to grab a little further forward. It's going to be a great utility cutter. It has 2 deployment methods, by the way. You can deploy it via thumb tabs on either side. I wouldn't necessarily say it's drop shutty, but it's not too bad. Or you've got a flipper tab to flip the knife open with. You can see the fit and finish on the knife looks really nice. We've got this nice looking blade here, some satin brushing, some stone washing here. Nice texturing on the scales. They don't feel too slick, they don't feel too aggressive, but they feel good in hand. Again, nice clip design. It's got some depth underneath it. It's got countersunk screws. Huge lanyard hole if you are a fan of lanyards. So all of those are really positive things. Overall, the feel of the knife and the fit and finish of the knife feels very, very solid. I like the jimping on the top of the spine. I think it's something that people sometimes overlook, but I think it especially helps on a knife like this, where, you know, it is big enough and it does have a big enough blade that you can do some utility cuts, or you can push or pull this thing through cardboard and other things pretty easily, and it does cut well. It is a good cutter. Solid functional pocket clip, like I said. Clip works really good. Got a little bit of beef to it so it doesn't feel too noodly. And it has a nice feel to the scales. Like I said, the scales are really well done. Overall, it's a good looking, good cutting knife for this size range. So let's talk issues or dislikes. I have a couple little ones. Overall, I'm a fan of the knife. I dig it. I think it's a cool looking knife. My primary issue or dislike is that this knife carries big in the pocket. Big. In fact, it's so chonky and so thick here that it really does take up a lot of pocket on a pair of jeans or a pair of Carhartts or 511s. It takes up a lot of pocket space, and you have to really kind of reach past and around the knife when it's in your pocket, because as you can see, it's pretty thick. So there's that. Also, it's a D2 knife, and I don't necessarily dislike D2 on the whole, but the fact that it's not full stainless, and this would definitely be a work/utility type of knife that you would carry, I feel like that's not the greatest choice of blades. Just my personal opinion. That I find a little bit disappointing. These days, if I want D2, I usually buy a coated D2 blade, so I don't have to worry about the rust. I just have to worry about keeping a good sharp working edge on the knife. So I'll take a little bit off of the fact that they decided to go with ingot D2 for a blade steel. And also the second thing is folks with extra large or larger hands are probably not gonna like this because I have large hands, and even though it's comfortable for me, it's almost a perfect fit, I'm right there at the back of this scale. So there's no other hand position, so if you have bigger fingers, you're gonna be back here off the back of it. You're probably not gonna like this knife. Again, it is called the Little Chonk, not the Big Chonk. But overall, it is a solid knife design. It is good for people with medium to large size hands who are looking for a solid, robust, utility cutter type knife. You're gonna have a lot of fun cutting with this knife for sure. It is definitely a fun knife to put in your hands and cut with. Not a lot of billboarding too, I kinda like that. Hawkins Rose has his logo on that side. They've got the model number, and they've got your nice little Rosecraft on this side. So kudos to them for not mucking the blade up with too much billboarding or logoing on this. So let's do a couple quick size comps on this. So Lil Chonk, it's a big knife for a small knife. And what I mean by that is here is a CRKT Piler XL, Piler Large. So you can see how much bigger the Chonk looks. Look at the difference in thickness between these. I mean, it's just crazy. The Chonk is a chonky big knife. Let's show you another knife that I feel fits into this category here is the Wee Banter. I mean, gosh, the Wee Banter is not all that much smaller than the Chonk in terms of overall length and width, but look at how much bigger and thicker the Chonk is. Here's another knife that kind of fits into that category too, the Kvist Variant PE. All right, a little longer, but way thinner and way more streamlined feeling knife. And the PE is a joy to put in your pocket. You forget that this thing's even there. So, and then one last knife, and I think this is maybe the closest comparison. So this is the Kubi Duroc. This is one of Colin's designs. And you can kind of see the length. The cutting area of the blade is very similar, right? But you can kind of see, if you look at the height, there's a huge, huge difference in height between these two knives and a good amount of thickness. I mean, the Chonk is noticeably thicker than the Kubi Duroc. So ergo-wise, they're both good knives, but the Duroc will carry better in your pocket. It won't take up as much pocket space. Again, still a good solid knife, interesting design. It definitely has some weight and some heft to it. If you like that and you're not afraid of the width of the scales, you know, the thickness of the knife, then you're probably gonna dig it, all right? So this knife sells for about 60 bucks. It's rugged, it's a chonky little knife, just like its description says. I would pay a little bit more, say 65 or 70 bucks, to get this knife in a better blade steel, like say 14C, but even at this price point and with this blade steel, it's still a solid design. And folks, honestly, it's worth a look. A lot of the knives coming out of Rosecraft in their first year as an official knife making company are pretty interesting and have pretty good designs. They're not just the total run of the mill knives. So check this out if you get a chance. This is the Rosecraft Little Chonk. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button and think about subscribing to my channel for notifications on future content. I appreciate everyone's views as always. Leave me a comment or questions about the knife. I always enjoy talking to you folks that way as well. Thank you for watching and stay sharp, everyone. Stay sharp.